Welcome back to another episode of Generally Assembled, your favorite House Republican podcast. I'm Jason Gottesman, joined by Dunkin' Donuts aficionado and sponsor Jesse Topper.
That's right. Just Dunkin' now, remember.
Representative Jesse Topper.
Remember, just Dunkin'. Just Dunkin'.
Just Dunkin', I guess.
They've rebranded because most people just get the coffee.
Well, it's interesting on that mug because it's got the Christmas ornament thing on it. But the original Dunkin' Donut was made with a donut handle so that you could dunk your donut, and that's where the name came from. That the donuts themselves had a handle so you could dunk the entire donut into your coffee.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
So that's like a throwback.
Listen,
to
I'll be
the
honest.
original Dunkin' Donut.
I'm a late to in life coffee drinker.
Oh, okay.
So my first 30 some years, I didn't drink coffee. This job has changed that a little bit. There is a Dunkin' near the hotel where I stay when I'm down here, and that's kind of swing through and get. I mean, I get a little flavor in it. Like this morning, I got a little pumpkin flavor. Sometimes a little butter pecan. Sometimes some raspberry. Like I usually don't. Sometimes just straight, but just I like a little flavoring in my coffee, and Dunkin' fits the bill. So
well, I always like to say Dunkin' Donuts is the only coffee company keeping the sugar industry well employed. Whenever you get I just roll up and I go there most mornings. There's one on my way in, and I'm a Dunkin' app user, so I get all the points and free coffees and extra deals and stuff. And I'll go in and I'll go through the drive-through and say medium coffee, cream and sugar. And I swear there's probably just as much sugar in there as there is coffee. It's just so sweet.
I have a colleague, I will not mention names, that goes through Dunkin' Donuts and asks for extra cream and extra sugar, which I don't even know how that happens. And while we're talking coffee, before we get into substance, a great coffee shop in Bedford. Next time you guys are in Bedford, where I live, called Hebrews.
Yes,
right
I passed by that.
Pass by that?
Yeah, when I was in Bedford last time. Yep.
So make sure next time you stop there. That's when I'm at home. That and then Rutter's are my coffee stops at home.
Yeah, Rutter's has surprisingly good coffee. I would say out of all the gas stations, Rutter's is probably the best.
Yeah.
Well, we actually do have stuff we want to talk about.
That's right.
Okay, look, let's start off right at the top because I know we got some fun stuff we want to talk about, not just about Dunkin' Donuts coffee. A couple of things going on here this week. One, we didn't talk about this offline, but it looks like we might be on a glide path to finishing some of these budget bills. And that's really important to a lot of these community organizations that have been waiting, community colleges, libraries, nonprofits, who have been waiting months and months and months, having to take out money, borrow money, pay interest on that money. Because some of the people in this building can't find out how to work with each other.
Well, and it's also critical for the process and for the people to have a voice in how their money is spent. And this is why I say that. Without these code bills, and I know we've talked before that sometimes you pass the general appropriations bill, the budget, and it's hard to get people to understand who are not in the system that's not all that you have to do. These quote code bills. But the reason the code bills are important, it directs how the money is spent. And if we don't do that, then the administration and the bureaucracy of unelected bureaucrats get to start basically writing checks to say where the money goes. Then the people lose that voice. This is immensely important for us to get this done so that state government functions the way it should, with the people and the people's representatives having a voice in how their tax dollars are spent.
But there's a lot of stuff really happening this week outside of the budget because, we just can't focus on one thing in this building and get a job done. So,
also I think we're all aware that we saw the session schedule for the first part of the year. Like this feels like the last time we as the House are going to be in session for a while. The Democrats are losing a member who's going to go on to become a magisterial district justice. And I think because of the politics that have been played this session, they don't want to come back with a 101-101 split. Even though we should be able to govern regardless of who's in the majority or what the numbers are. But we all recognize that one of the reasons why this week feels like everything's kind of thrown up at the wall at the same time is because we might not be back for a while in terms of being in session.
All that much more pressure to get stuff done related to the budget because we're going to be gone, or the members will be gone for 3 months,
Right.
and that's a long period of time where people are going to be, if this budget doesn't get done, needing to take out more loan money, more unpredictability. I was talking to one of my friends who represents business interests around here in Pennsylvania. Not a former podcast host who people may be familiar with on this brand. But we were talking about the one thing that really hinders business investment, that hinders businesses from coming here and staying here, is, or anywhere really, is the lack of predictability.
Absolutely.
And so when you have a government that can't get its act together and make sure that the things in the community don't have what they need, that impacts their employees. Right, so they want to go to a place where employees have better quality of life because that makes the employee happier. Their families are happier. They're more productive. Everything's better. Everybody, it works out for everybody in the end. But if you come here and there's a headquarters here and nobody can get their kids at community college, don't know how much the tuition is going to cost. Their spouse who works at a nonprofit doesn't know if they're going to have a job coming up. The local library where they go and get programming and stuff for their children might not be open. So all of that stuff really does impact a much broader sense of what it means to invest and run the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So it's all very important.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, if that wasn't enough for you, guess what? House Democrats have been trying to make it easier for the worst criminals to get out of jail.
Yeah, and I think we use the term tone deaf sometimes in politics of understanding, looking around. Look, as far as criminal justice reform, I don't think anyone can argue that over the past several years, House Republicans and Republicans all across the country, it's been one of the bipartisan issues that is really you've seen catch fire across the country, which is the idea of, look, when people pay their debt to society, we need to make sure they're transitioning back into life so that they don't just we don't keep recycling. We don't keep doing the same things over and over that basically contribute to more prison time, right? Mm-hmm. To criminals who are not able to be, essentially, they get trapped into that criminal lifestyle. We don't want that, right?
Correct.
And I think we have shown that. There's also a time, though, when you have to say, look, it is crime for a reason.
Yeah.
And right now we have cities in Pennsylvania literally on fire, and this is really not the time to talk about. I mean, we're discussing things on the House floor. Colleagues gave impassioned speeches yesterday on both sides, but particularly when they talk about the victims of crime, we always have to remember that we have to have law and order. And when you lose that, we see what has happened in a place like Philadelphia, that we need to be a strong economic driver in Pennsylvania, and it's been unable to be that over the past couple of years because of crime. So I think that to try and bring up bills like we talked about, where it's making it very easy for people to get pardoned for serious offenses.
Yeah, regardless of crime.
I think we're getting way over the line there.
Yeah, and look, the constitutional amendment that was offered by the Speaker that we're talking about here, House Bill 1410, would have changed it from a unanimous Board of Pardons recommendation requirement to a 3/5, 60% requirement on the board. Now, we offered amendments that were largely shot down and tabled that would have done things like required full attendance at these meetings, added a fourth-fifth. But, look, two things. One, nobody would ever want somebody convicted if 60% of the jury said that's the case.
Absolutely.
Right? Number two, this is a change from a prior constitutional change. It used to be 3/5. Now, back during the Ridge administration, when they actually tackled crime in a very serious way during a special session, this constitutional amendment was changed. The Constitution was changed to unanimous requirement, which means it had to go through the constitutional amendment process, pass in 2 sessions, and then be approved by the voters. The people of Pennsylvania have already spoken on this issue.
Right.
They spoke on this issue, and they said, we think it should be, when the entire Board of Pardons is there, every single one of them needs to sign off. Your case needs to be so compelling that everybody needs to sign off on it, not just 3/5, not just the people who show up, everybody.
And I think it's important to note that there is a process that is already in place. It's not as though that we're trying to create something from scratch. You just laid it out very nicely. There is a process in place. And once again, this isn't about second chances to me. I think we need, when we talk about criminal justice reform, we need to focus on when someone who has paid their debt to society gets out, there needs to be some government resources there to get them in the right direction so they don't go right back into whatever put them in prison in the first place.
Yeah.
That needs to be our focus. Not necessarily getting them out in the first place.
Correct.
There's already a process for that. And
Yep.
so I think it's just a fundamental difference of how, for instance, I view how we can lessen crime in this state is that we can get the people who are getting out on a different road to success. It seems as though the other side right now is focused on just getting people out. And that's really not where I'm at. And I don't think that's where the majority of Pennsylvanians are at, certainly today.
Well, and keep in mind, it's not like they just by accident were in jail. There is a process in place, the criminal justice process, where you have representation by an attorney, a judge, and a jury, all of which were involved in the process. On top of that, appeals, if you feel as though your conviction was unwarranted.
Exactly.
And those processes have played out, and this is something extraordinary that they're trying to make ordinary. All right, moving on. If you thought that was bad enough, guess what?
There's
another. Yeah, there's more.
Right, well, the $9.99 on.
Well, actually,
you can get a broom that
I think it's
sweeps
something like
and
$25
vacuums.
billion actually is the cost of this 1% tax increase that House Democrats want to put on every single working Pennsylvanian to pay for an expansion of government, an increase in bureaucracy, more money for the state. For guess what? The department in Pennsylvania, the Department of Labor and Industry, that was most irresponsible, that let down working Pennsylvanians across the board during the COVID pandemic, the Department of Labor and Industry, to create a family medical leave and medical leave program.
Look, at the end of the day, one thing that has been bipartisan in this Commonwealth since I've been here, when it comes to state government, has been the criticism of the Department of Labor and Industry with the whole unemployment debacle. The idea that we would give them carte blanche to kind of create this new tax and program, look, it's out of touch with reality. It's not. We have so much uncertainty, economic uncertainty in the future. We know what we're going to have to invest in education all across the board, right? Mm-hmm. We understand the court case. We know what's coming up there. We understand that the economic slowdown in terms of money coming into the state, that's real, and that's coming, right? That pendulum's about to start to shift again. Every economist says so. The idea that we would start to create new programs, knowing that it's going to lead to massive tax increases, and again, unpredictability, which is the enemy of progress in any state, it's absurd. And we just have to rein that in and do everything we can to show the people of Pennsylvania that this is a bad idea and hopefully get it stopped.
And the big screaming message here is, I can't say this enough, this bill, House Bill 181, will raise taxes on every single working Pennsylvanian.
Right.
Come right out of your paycheck. It's not something that you're going to see right at the end of the year. It'll come right out of your paycheck every single time. Taxes will increase.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's talk as we ease into some of the more fun stuff here while we conclude. There was this effort this week to name 2023 the Taylor Swift era in Pennsylvania. Thank goodness Chairman Scott Conklin jumped in and saved his members from themselves.
Look, this is gonna generate news. I'm a big music fan, and you and I talk on this podcast about golf, and we talk about movies, and we talk about pop culture, and that's great. And I like to see members who don't just talk politics, that talk about personal life and their likes and dislikes, and we can all have fun with that. Right now, there are some serious legislative items that need checked off the list when we're on that floor voting. Mm-hmm. And the problem I have with something like this resolution, understanding and honoring Taylor Swift, that she's from Pennsylvania, we've honored folks from Pennsylvania all the time. It's that what is going to chew up the news right now is going to be this. It's going to be, Republicans are fighting against Democrats over a Taylor Swift resolution. I'm thinking, is this really the best use of our time, of our political capital, of our staff resources right now with all of this going on? And the answer, of course, is no.
Correct.
And that's what's frustrating to me. It's that we just feed in sometimes to the public distrust that we are not doing our job to the best of our ability. And I don't, and this is nothing about Taylor Swift or nothing about the resolution as much as it is.
Yeah, don't turn on us Swifties.
That's right. Yeah, and look, I like Taylor Swift. I think what she has done, again, recognizing that she's from Pennsylvania initially. I'm certainly doesn't live here now, although we could. Taylor, if you want, I tell you what. How about this? If Taylor comes back and starts paying taxes in Pennsylvania, let's do the resolution, because that'll probably fix our budget problems for the next 5 years. How about we do that? But as of right now, I just think it's the wrong time, the wrong message to send.
Yeah, and look, there was a infamous news story that came out that chided House Republicans when we were in the majority for doing a lot of road and bridge namers. You know, look, those are important to somebody. They were all people from Pennsylvania who, you know, gave the last measure of devotion to this country and this Commonwealth, served their communities in an incredible capacity, are icons of Pennsylvania that, or of the community that don't want to be forgotten.
I had 6 bridges named in my district over in my tenure here, and watching what that meant to those families, remembering the sacrifice, talking and telling the stories and the events and the accounts of their loved ones as they fought for our freedom. You know, I think that's well worth the investment, and I think that's been shown time and time again.
Yeah, Taylor Swift, I think, is a bit of a different story, and when we're passing resolutions just to get attention.
Well, and the other thing is, you know, a lot of times resolutions are meant to bring attention to the person who has served. I'm pretty sure everybody in the world knows who she is. But listen, I'm going to go back. I really think I've come up with an idea here.
Okay, yeah, she comes back.
I really think if she comes back and starts paying,
your belief in altruism of the celebrity is, you know, inspiring. Anyway, all right. Look,
speaking of someone else who could come and pay some taxes right now after his live deal is John Rahm.
Well, John
Holy
Rahm.
cow.
Look, John Rahm. Who would have thought that a $600 million deal to move from the PGA Tour to live would be the second biggest contract of last week with Shohei Ohtani?
That's right.
Going to the Dodgers for $700
much
million
money out there.
Yeah, you know, look, I should have been born with more athletic ability.
Listen, something needs there is a reckoning coming with golf and these two tours. I don't have a fundamental problem. I'm disappointed John Rahm left because I'm a PGA Tour guy.
Yeah.
I haven't watched a second of Live Golf. I don't care. Look, it's just not appealing to me. It's not, and that's fine. If it's appealing to you, go watch it. Get the CW,
It's
whatever,
golf, but louder.
Whatever it's on.
Look, you can just get it on the app. It's free.
You
They have
know,
everything
it
on
looks
here.
like these guys, when I've seen highlights, it's like they're out for a practice round with their buddies. If that's what appeals to you, great. That's not why I watch golf, so that's fine. But again, it comes down to authenticity, right? Like, stop with the game is evolving and I want to get. You just got offered more money than you could turn down, and you took it. Fine, go. But it just the whole song and dance of like, oh, the game, this is great for the growth of the game. I'm tired of hearing it.
I think we've talked about it. Look, if you're going to take the money, take the money. I think John Rahm actually did a pretty good job of saying it's kind of for the money. And
the second time, I think the second time.
I mean, and so I thought there was a quote out there from Jordan Spieth, who's on the player advisory committee for the PGA Tour. I think his take was pretty interesting, which is, you know, do I think John Rahm did it solely for the money? No. I think he looked at the PGA Tour, and we don't know a lot what goes on the PGA Tour and the behind the scenes. But from everything that you hear from the players, it's inherently screwed up. It's gotten even worse since Live came about and started exposing a lot of the problems, because you had like Sergio Garcia, many other players who left the PGA Tour because they were dissatisfied with the way that the tour was operating, how the way the tour was treating players, how the way the tour was running tournaments and supporting communities, all of that stuff. You know, so that's only gotten worse. And Jordan Spieth said he looked at a broken PGA Tour, and he looked at Live, which is, you know, upstart and not great as well. And he's like, well, if I have the opportunity to stay in the PGA Tour for X amount of money, and the opportunity to go to something that's similarly screwed up for $600 million, I'm going to go to the one that's offering me $600 million.
I just think that when you look, okay, you're right. Inside baseball, you know, you look at this stuff and it's kind of tough. But from the outside, why do I like to watch the PGA Tour? Right?
Yeah.
Why do I watch golf? I like the grind of it. I like how tough it. I like how every shot these guys are really grinding out there, because every shot is worth X amount of dollars to them. You know, these aren't guaranteed contracts like in other sports. It is truly the performance-based sport, and because of that, I think it leads to a level of competition and intensity that you can't capture in other sports, and it's why I love it. Now, look, you know what I should do? All right, I'm going to commit on Generally Assembled right now. Let's put it down. Let's mark down the day that I will watch, because I really shouldn't comment on something I've never watched. I will watch a Live Golf event and see if I get the same type of experience watching that as I do a PGA Tour event, and then maybe I could talk more intelligently. I don't think I will, but maybe I will.
Well, look, I think the PGA Tour has gotten the attention it has and has a following it has. Just like you said, the intensity is not because of the tour itself. The intensity comes from having the best players in the world competing for that money. You know, I'm not going to be a live apologist here. I watch it from time to time because, you know, sometimes, frankly, the PGA Tour off schedule does not have as strong as a field as the Live Tour schedule. So if they're on, you know, if it's like, you know, the Nabisco Open or whatever, I mean, that's not a tournament anymore compared to, you know, the Live Golf at Adelaide, which is nuts and has some of the best players in the world at it. I want to watch a Live Golf tournament because it has the best players. I even said before Rahm goes over, if John Rahm goes to Live, I will, if they come back to DC or the area, I will try to go to that event. I would love to watch John Rahm play. I will go to watch John Rahm play at a Live event just so I can see it. Well, the more that Live and maybe other tours that might pop up starts to draw in the biggest and best names, the more people are going to want to watch it, and the more that competition is going to increase. Is it there now? No. But same thing with the TGL, the Indoor Golf League that had their stadium blown over. That's going to start next year now, or 2025 now. That was an alternate format. The reason people were interested in it is because the best names were there. If you start getting the best names over to Live, I think the same thing will start happening. And John Rahm, look, we said that it was with Dustin, we said it with Bryson.
Yeah, but to me, Rahm's the biggest.
Yes.
Rahm's the biggest because of where he's at. You know, Bryson was battling injuries. Brooks Koepka was battling injuries. It felt as though Brooks since won a major, so they're certainly. But at the time when he went over, he didn't think he was going to win another golf tournament again. Like they had John Rahm is truly at the peak of his career, and I think it separates from those other guys. Maybe I think Dustin might actually be the closest, Dustin Johnson. But look, at the end of the day, we'll see. My only pushback to you on what you're describing about the best players, that's really not how I've watched golf. Like I've been able to watch the John Deere Classic with a weak field, and I love it. I love the storylines. I love watching the golf over. The 4-day thing's a big deal to me, you know, and the grind thing's a big deal to me. But again, I will commit to watching one Live event at least, and then when we have this discussion, I'll see if I feel any different.
All right, very good. Well, hey, let's wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas from Generally Assembled.
Absolutely. Yeah. I hope you have a great holiday with your family. Watch plenty of Hallmark Christmas movies. Eat some great cookies, and we look forward to seeing everybody when we come back.
Hey, all right. So for at least a little while, I'm sure you'll be in town here for some education.
Oh no, we're gonna listen. I will drive to Harrisburg simply to do Generally Assembled if we need to.
All right, well, let's do it.
We're not going to let our fans go this long. We will be here.
All right,
committed to you.
Well, we're committed to being here, and that's Generally Assembled for now. We wish you all very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and that's it. Beep boop beep.